If you have a weak heart that cannot bear the harshness of life, leave immediately, because in this video you will learn about the tormented soul in the basement, the mystery of the abandoned house hungry to devour souls, and finally the screams of the tortured patients in the psychiatric hospital. So get ready to know the full stories in the Nightmare Library channel. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the overgrown garden of the abandoned house. Laughter echoed between the crumbling walls as we, a group of adventurous boys, played hide and seek. I was on the hunt for the perfect hiding spot when I stumbled upon a hidden door leading underground. Curiosity piqued, I cautiously descended the creaky stairs into the darkness below. The air was musty, and the only sound was the distant chirping of crickets. As I crept further into the depths, I stumbled upon a room shrouded in darkness. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, sending shivers down my spine. It was not the voice of one of my friends. Trembling, I asked, "Who are you?" The voice replied, chillingly calm, "I'm Mark, and still playing with you. The game is beautiful, and I love it very much." Fear gripped me as I realized I was not alone. "There is no one among us named Mark," I stuttered. But the unseen presence persisted, pleading to join our game. With each passing second, my heart pounded louder in my chest. "Please don't leave me," the voice begged. "I haven't played for 5 years, and I live alone." Confusion mingled with terror as I tried to comprehend the situation. "How can someone your age live here alone?" I questioned, my voice trembling. The voice revealed a tragic tale of a boy who had met his end in this very room years ago. His spirit lingered, trapped in the darkness, yearning for companionship. I broke free from his grasp and fled into the fading light of the evening. But as I emerged from the underground chamber, I realized I was alone. My friends had vanished, leaving me stranded in the eerie garden. Heart pounding, I dashed back to my house, desperate for safety. But when I entered, an unsettling emptiness greeted me. My family was nowhere to be found. Seeking solace, I hurried to my room and confronted my reflection in the mirror. But what I saw sent a chill down my spine. Standing behind me was the ghostly figure of the boy from the underground room, his eyes filled with longing and sorrow. With a final haunting whisper, he uttered, "The game isn't over yet." And with that, the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces, plunging me into darkness. I realized that the game of hide and seek had taken a terrifying turn, one from which there might be no escape. In the heart of Cairo, where the bustling streets never sleep, there was an apartment building as old as the city's tales. Its walls were steeped in history, and its foundations were laid with secrets. The residents spoke little of the building's past, but there was an unspoken understanding that some things were better left undisturbed. Amir, a young journalist with a keen eye for the truth, moved into the building, drawn by its charm and the stories it promised. His neighbors were a peculiar mix, some friendly, some reclusive, but all bound by the silent agreement to never pry too deeply into each other's lives. It wasn't long before Amir noticed the oddities. Objects in his apartment seemed to move on their own, and sometimes, late at night, he would hear the faint sound of footsteps when he knew he was alone. He dismissed these occurrences as figments of his imagination, attributing them to the stress of his work. But then came the night when everything changed. As Amir lay in bed, drifting between the realms of sleep and wakefulness, he felt a presence, an oppressive weight in the room that suffocated the air. He opened his eyes to darkness, and for a moment, he thought he saw a figure standing by his window, a silent observer outlined against the city lights. In the days that followed, Amir's curiosity turned into an obsession. He began to investigate the building, speaking to neighbors who reluctantly shared their own experiences. Whispers in the night, shadows that moved, and a feeling of being watched. It was as if the building itself was alive, aware of its inhabitants, and reacting to their presence. Determined to uncover the truth, Amir delved into the archives, unearthing the building's grim history. Decades ago, it had been the site of a tragedy. A family found lifeless in their apartment. No signs of struggle, No explanation for their demise. The case was closed, unsolved, and the building's reputation was forever tarnished. As Amir pieced together the puzzle, he realized that the building's past was not just a series of unfortunate events, but a pattern. Every few years, a resident would vanish without a trace, leaving behind a vacant apartment and whispered rumors. The realization hit Amir like a cold wave. He was living in a place that held a dark appetite for its residents, a building that observed, waited, and occasionally chose someone to join the silent ranks of its history. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, Amir heard the footsteps again. This time, he did not ignore them. He followed the sound, tracking it through the dimly lit hallways until he reached the building's heart, a forgotten storage room, dusty and untouched by time. Inside, he found the source of the building's hunger, a gaping hole in the floor, leading into the darkness below. It was an abyss, a void that seemed to call out to him, beckoning him to come closer. Amir stood at the edge, peering into the blackness, and for a moment he considered turning back. But the truth was within reach, and he could not let it slip away. With a deep breath, he descended into the abyss, the darkness enveloping him, the building's silent observation his only companion. What he found in the depths of the building's bowels was a revelation that would never see the light of day. For Amir became another whisper in the night, another shadow that moved, another resident consumed by the building's insatiable curiosity. That was the last day Amir saw the light, and he disappeared completely from that time. Dr. Alexander Rhodes, renowned for his empathy and dedication to mental health, had his life changed forever one autumn evening when he encountered a weathered beggar, Samuel, on a dimly lit street corner. Samuel's eyes held a haunting depth, reflecting the trauma of a life lived on the fringes of society. Intrigued by Samuel's tale of escape from a forgotten mental asylum, Dr. Rhodes found himself torn between skepticism and a gnawing curiosity. For days, Dr. Rhodes wrestled with the decision to investigate Samuel's claims. The beggar's words lingered in his mind, painting vivid images of suffering and desperation. Finally, driven by a sense of duty to his profession, Dr. Rhodes resolved to uncover the truth behind Samuel's story. Guided by Samuel's fragmented recollections, Dr. Rhodes embarked on a journey into the heart of darkness. The abandoned asylum loomed ominously against the backdrop of the setting sun, its crumbling facade a testament to the passage of time. As he stepped through the threshold, a chill crept down Dr. Rhodes' spine, for he knew that he was about to confront the ghosts of the past. The interior of the asylum was a labyrinth of decay, its corridors echoing with the whispers of lost souls. Dr. Rhodes navigated the maze with trepidation, each step bringing him closer to the truth he sought. Along the way, he encountered remnants of the asylum's grim legacy, rusted shackles, frayed restraints, and instruments of torment that bore silent witness to unspeakable horrors. In the dim light of the asylum's infirmary, Dr. Rhodes stumbled upon a collection of medical records, their pages yellowed with age. As he pored over the documents, he pieced together the stories of those who had once been confined within these walls. Each case was a testament to the fragility of the human mind, ravaged by trauma and neglect. One name in particular caught Dr. Rhodes' attention: Emily Thompson, a young woman whose tragic tale seemed to echo through the corridors of the asylum. According to her records, Emily had been admitted to the asylum following a severe psychotic episode, her mind fractured by visions of unspeakable horrors. Driven by a sense of urgency, Dr. Rhodes pressed on, his determination unyielding in the face of darkness. In the depths of the asylum's basement, he stumbled upon a chamber shrouded in darkness, its walls adorned with grotesque murals that depicted scenes of agony and despair. As Dr. Rhodes illuminated the chamber with his flashlight, the shadows seemed to come alive, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. In that moment, he felt the weight of centuries bearing down upon him, for he knew that he stood on the threshold of revelation. Among the relics of the past, Dr. Rhodes discovered a series of intricately carved models, miniature replicas of the patients who had once inhabited the asylum. Each figure bore the scars of their suffering, their faces frozen in expressions of anguish and despair. In that moment, Dr. Rhodes realized the true extent of Samuel's suffering, for he had borne witness to the echoes of a forgotten past. As he emerged from the depths of the asylum, the weight of the truth settled upon his shoulders, a burden too heavy to bear alone. In the days that followed, Dr. Rhodes dedicated himself to ensuring that the voices of the forgotten would never be silenced again. Inspired by their resilience in the face of adversity, he vowed to shine a light into the darkest corners of society, for he knew that only by confronting the shadows of the past could true healing begin. If you liked the video, click subscribe and like, and get ready to be part of this terrifying journey. Are you ready to face the dark side of reality?